So Sandra Birchmore case had finally been solved because back on February 1st of 2021, police had ruled that Sandra had unlived herself, but the thing was, her family didn't buy that story because they knew that she was a happy person, as well as the fact that she was also pregnant. So her family went ahead and hired Dr. Michael Baden, who was a former chief medical examiner in New York. And after doing the examination of the body, that's when they came to the conclusion that she didn't unlive herself, but that she was in fact strangled. And it wasn't until August 28th of 2024, exactly 3 years later, when an arrest was finally made, in which the person that was arrested was former Stoughton, Massachusetts police officer, 38-year-old Matthew Farwell. He was arrested at his home by an FBI SWAT team. Now, due to the fact that this is still an ongoing case, everything that's being said is based off of allegations. But the FBI did find a plethora of evidence that proved that he was involved. So let's go ahead and dive into today's story as we hear what happened to 23-year-old Sandra Burchmore, as well as a forensic analysis of Matthew Farwell. Now, due to the graphic nature and details of this story, viewer discretion is advised. So this case goes all the way back to 2010, back when Sandra was only 12 years old. And during this time period, Sandra was signed up for the Stoughton Police Department Explorer program. Now, what this program entails is that it allows children to explore a career in law enforcement, as well as interact with police officer. Now, Sandra was part of this program, as well as Matthew Farwell was her instructor. Now, while in the program, it wasn't until Sandra had turned 15 was when Matthew had started grooming her, exploring her, as well as having inappropriate relationships with her. Now, as of right now, for the analysis of Matthew Farwell, here's what you would call a seductive P3DO. Now, what a seductive P3DO is a person that grooms young victims, where he or she rationalizes their behavior by believing that they have a special relationship based on mutual affection. Now, it would appear that through text messages that the FBI have found, which I will get into a little bit later, that appears that the abuse had lasted for over 8 years. So throughout his career as a Stoughton, Massachusetts police officer, it appeared that he was abusing her that whole entire time, even got promoted to detective. And on top of that, Matthew was also married with children, where they lived over in northeastern Massachusetts. And his wife and children had no idea what he was doing. And the way that he would do this without being caught was that he would tell his wife that he had to work all the hours, but instead of him actually working, he was with Sandra the whole entire time. So their relationship would go all the way up until 2020 when it started going downhill. So now I'm going to go ahead and dive into the text messages that was sent between both Matthew and Sandra. So due to the nature of these text messages, I would advise you to go ahead and either fast forward or skip to the next video. So in 2020, it was alleged that Matthew and Sandra was texting back and forth with each other about their past relationship. It was alleged that Matthew had stated that he could have made her do whatever he wanted her to do. In a message he had sent, he had stated that he could have done it without protection from day one. In which Sandra had replied that if he had really pushed it, he probably could have. Because she would tell him that she was kind of scared in the beginning to say no to him, out of fear of how he would react to that. Now, there were more text messages found between both Matthew and Sandra, where even though Sandra was an adult, he would have her role play as if she was still a child. He would even have her pretend that they were siblings. Now, I'll be honest, this guy has a sick, twisted mind as of right now, because the behavior that he is displaying through these text messages was known as a situational P3DO. Now, what a situational P3DO is a person that may not have a preference for children, but may have relations with them as targets of opportunity. And this can be divided up into 4 different subtypes. And the subtype that he displayed is a morally indiscriminate P3DO. Now, what a morally indiscriminate P3DO is a person that has a relationship with an adult, but may forcefully or conceivably abuse children as a way of getting their thrills and controlling a helpless victim. And the reason why I say this is because since the abuse happened when she was 15, he had her wrapped around his finger, where Sandra believed that they were in a committed relationship with each other and that he would always take care of her. But all of that changed towards the end of 2020. Now, in December of 2020, Sandra had found out that she was pregnant, and the alleged father was Matthew Farwell. Now, Sandra, she was excited because not just that she was having a baby, but at the same time, she would always have Matthew forever. So she drew the father via a card and then sent him a text message saying, "Congrats, we're going to be parents 2021. Now, instead of getting a happy text message from Matthew, he started getting more abusive towards her. He would text her back saying that she was the worst person on the face of the earth. Now, Sandra lived in Canton, Massachusetts at this time period, and Matthew would visit her from time to time while she lived there. But after he learned that she was pregnant, he would turn physically abusive. At one point, after he found that she was pregnant, he had placed her in a headlock and had told her that he wished that she was unalive. After that, Sandra would tell her loved ones that Matthew started becoming violent after she told him that she was pregnant. Now, out of concern for her safety, Sandra's friend had went to the Stoughton Police Department and had disclosed both Matthew and Sandra's relationship. Now, instead of doing an investigation and arresting Matthew for what he did, he was notified about what Sandra's friend had reported, in which outraged Matthew. So Matthew had texted Sandra and told her that he would be over there and to keep it a secret. So after a few days, when the family members haven't heard from her in a while, they would notify the police department to do a welfare check on Sandra. And when the police had arrived, they had found that Sandra had taken her own life. But when the family was notified, they didn't believe that she did this to herself. So that's when they hired Dr. Michael Baden, who was a former chief medical examiner in New York, to do an autopsy on her. And that's when the medical examiner had found out that she didn't take her own life, but she was in fact strangled. Now, during the investigation, the police have found out that there was allegations against Matthew for having an inappropriate relationship with Sandra since she was 15. They had to get the FBI involved. So on August 28th of 2024, Matthew Farwell was arrested by the FBI for unaliving Sandra and her unborn child. Now, police believe that the motive behind this was the fact that since Sandra's friend had disclosed Matthew and Sandra's relationship, Matthew was afraid that his extramarital affair would come to light and that everybody would find out about his criminal conduct. Now, since this is still an ongoing case, Matthew is currently being held without bond, as well as it is also unclear if he had retained an attorney or had made a plea deal. So that concludes our story for today. So what do you think? Do you feel that the police department had did a poor job investigating this case? Or do you feel they should have jumped into action once the allegations were made? Go ahead and leave your comments down below. And if you'd like to hear more cases like this with a forensic analysis added on to it, go ahead and stay tuned for more videos to come. As well as if you're new, go ahead and check out my previous videos.